I have with me today the amazing Dr. Meghan Walker, and we are going to talk about something that's a bit of a hot topic lately because I'm all about signature programs and scaling and automation, and that's a hard thing to do when you're a licensed and regulated health practitioner because your hands are kind of tied. For some of you, I guess all of you, you are required to like lay hands on people and see them face to face. And yet there's still a way you can do it. So we're going to talk about that today. We're also going to get into it a lot more at Meghan's event coming up called Impact Lives. We have an amazing promo code for it. We're going to put that in the comments so that if anyone's interested, they can click over to the event page and use my promo code so that you can save your seat. There's only about 50 seats left. There's still a month to go. It's gonna sell out. So don't sit on the fence for this one. So, hi, Meghan.
Hi, so good to see you.
So good to see you. Why don't you just do a little background info about yourself and then we'll just get right into it.
Yeah, let's jump right in. So I'm a naturopathic doctor. I've been practicing for about 11 years now. And I came into this system of medicine because I truly believe in dealing with people's health issues in an upstream context. And I think like all of us who get into this, I was like, okay, seriously want to impact people's health. And I really quickly realized that my capacity to do that in a really amplified way was limited because I was only one person. So I got really obsessed with this journey of, okay, well, how can I work with my colleagues and friends who are incredible clinicians, but we're hesitant around the business piece to help them amplify as well. And so we just started having little groups and meetings, and what it really grew into was this entire system and company called Clinician Business Labs, where we really teach credentialed, regulated clinicians how to scale their practices. So I've kind of scaled mine down and trimmed it down because I've just become so obsessed and excited with working with all of these other people to help them scale what it is that they are up to.
Amazing. So we've known each other for a long time now. And let's talk about sort of what that evolution looks like for a practitioner before we get into like the specific strategies, because for me, and your goal is really similar as well, I think we just do it a little differently. For me, my job is to teach all practitioners, whether they're licensed or not licensed, to really transform their mindset around what's possible.
Right.
And there are some legalities. There's obviously some intricacies that licensed and regulated practitioners have to deal with that those of us that aren't licensed and regulated don't. But at the end of the day, we have the ability to really grow large practices. And I know that we're both on the same page when it comes to possibility and what's possible for people's careers and their impact and their wealth and their abundance. It's just like the way that I describe it is like you're here on one side of the mountain, and then there's this like gaping hole, and you need to get to this like other side. And I know that the Clinician Business Labs and Impact Lives, like that's the intention, is to actually show them the strategies as to how to get to this other side of the mountain that they are working so hard, like literally walking uphill. Yeah. You're just going to build a bridge.
Right.
So what does that look like for practitioners?
Well, I think first of all, when we step back, part of it is where I want everyone to hang out is just outside of that traditional box. And what's so ironic about that in terms of a mindset piece is that as practitioners, I actually think that we are highly skilled problem solvers. It's why we're so good. And we're doing something unique. We're not treating inside the box like traditional medicine. We actually get outside the box every day. And then we start to look at our business, and what we bring to the table is not that same creativity and innovation and rebellious spirit. What we bring to our business is this, like, I'm going to resign myself to the fact that I'm a martyr and I'm helping people. I'm going to be poor, and a good thing my spouse supports me. And like, that's just the way it is. And so the first thing I love to just like smack on people's head, and I think where the first like real realization for a lot of practitioners comes from, is that, whoa, I don't actually have to resign myself to that is not the only path to be able to amplify impact. In fact, what I arguably say over and over again is that your capacity to impact people will not come by lowering your prices and having you sit in a state of, I'll just call it poverty, mental poverty, financial poverty, whatever it happens to be. It's going to come through the innovation of systems within your business. And I think what happens in people's lives, and it's not always just because of their business or their evolution as a practitioner, you end up having kids, or you have a partner who's like, okay, what's the deal here? Is this a career? Or is this a hobby? You become intolerant to that. And I feel like that's the first stage for a lot of people, is they're like, I'm just intolerant to this state that I have to be in over here to be able to reach people. So I feel like that's the first belief that kind of gets questioned for practitioners. And then I think the next place that we tend to run up against is we just get tired. It's exhausting working with people in this like reinventing the wheel over and over again with every person who comes in. And I think there's this core myth that for us to provide individualized care in a one-on-one model, and that doesn't matter if you're an ND or a DC or a physio or a nutritionist, that somehow creating systems, scalable systems with your business is incongruent with personalized medicine. And I actually think there's like nothing further from the truth, because you can only do that for so long. And let's be honest, like how many of you who are working with, 10 or 15 practitioners a day aren't sitting there saying the same thing to them over and over again? I'm still in practice 1 day a week, and it kills me even now, because I'm like, I just said the same thing 3 times. Which means when I have a break for 20 minutes in the afternoon, I make a video, and then for the rest of the day, I just send people to that video. Like I just won't do it anymore. I'll just get outside that box every time. So I think those are 2 big pieces. It's really intolerance with these other unexpected pressures that drive these changes, and this realization that you're like, whoa, I'm doing the same thing over and over again. We have to have something here.
Yeah. And the one thing I totally agree with you, and in the sense that licensed practitioners especially feel like they have to create from scratch for every single person.
Yes.
And I can say that because I've had the opportunity to teach business to the naturopathic residents at the Canadian College of Naturopathic Medicine. So I do have that experience in the way that they are taught and all of that stuff. Plus we have, I don't know, thousands of people in our community. And so for me, my biggest, I think, hurdle, and I think you would agree, is even just getting the word out there that it's not just because this is A, how it's always been done, and B, potentially the way that you were taught, things are changing. And there is no possible way that if we even took all the practitioners in the world, that we would even be able to help all the people that need and want our help, because there's just too many of them, sadly, at this point. And so in order for us to even remotely keep up without burning out, we have to implement those systems. We have to implement those automations. We have to recognize, and this is, I think, the biggest takeaway, and I'm so excited to be able to talk to your people at your event, and for all of the rest of the speakers to, like, I'm sure touch upon this in whatever their area of expertise is, but like the biggest thing, it's like really recognizing what needs to be personalized, and then putting systems and automation in place for literally everything else. And if you don't know how to do that, that's why we exist. Like, that's why we're here, because we do know how to do that.
We know how to do that. And here's the person who appreciates these systems the most. It's actually your patients. Yes. When I say to my patients, okay, we're gonna review some like really in-depth testing. It's a Dutch test or organic acid test. And what I do is I make a video for them of their results, and I explain their results, and I give them another video of what the Dutch test is, and I upload that into their patient portal, and I say to them, you need to watch those before our visit. And then when they come in for their visit, we actually sit down and we talk about their individualized plan. And they love it because they're like, thank you for not wasting my precious time teaching me this thing that I could watch at home with a glass of wine. And so it isn't even that I am somehow scamming them into this systematized thing. My patients are like, oh, you get it. You actually respect where I'm coming from too. And I think that's one thing that we all kind of get caught in, and I hear this with practitioners all the time, is they make excuses that their patients aren't going to love this. They're going to be like, oh, you know, I'd love to use an electronic health record, but my patients really appreciate it that I'm writing it down by hand. And I'm like, no, they don't appreciate that. You're too scared to make the transition. People are way ahead of us. They're eons ahead of us. They want streamlined service. They want their time respected. They want to feel like you are on the ball. It is a rare case that people are like, can you please make this the most antiquated, inefficient, tiresome process for you? Because that makes me feel better as a patient. Those people don't exist. It's like a little myth we tell ourselves.
Yeah, totally. And I completely agree. And also, if we're going to stay on that topic, it's like a little bit of a codependent relationship, which is not a healthy thing. And one of my practitioners who specializes in IBS, she actually had that awareness for herself because she was so scared to let go of those one-on-one sessions with her clients because she was like, well, what do I do if they don't need me anymore? And I'm like, isn't that the goal? Like, isn't that the thing? And so, you know, talking about, and I think the really big takeaway here is it's okay that you don't know how to get out of what we call the analog model. Like you're running an analog practice, an analog business where everything's digital now. Everything is digital and you don't have to be using this like analog, archaic method. And also, you aren't like, this isn't being taught in your professional education because that's not what professional education is for. And so that's not the purpose of it, not to bash any of the schools, but like,
it's not their job.
It's not their job. It's not their job. You don't want to stay in school for 6 years. So, because it would take an extra year or two to like learn these systems and stuff like that. And so that's why events like Impact Lives really matter. And that's why we need to invest in ourselves. But also too, like learning from what other people are doing that's current and working and up to date, because the schools, and even with all due respect, like the continuing education, a lot of those courses, they can't innovate as fast as we can. Because I don't have a board of directors. I don't have anyone that I have to get approval from. So we test, we innovate, and we teach based on what's working for us and the hundreds of people that we're helping at the time. You want to come and learn from us versus, you know, those other amazing places, but that's not what they're for. We need to learn what's working now in order to keep up with what's happening, whether that's like clinical practice, signature program, online, whatever it is, you know, supplements, what testing, whatever, right?
Absolutely. Like, I think we just have to recognize what each group's mandate is all about. And their mandate is to make you a safe practitioner, which is great, and to teach you that medical education piece. It's not their job to make you a strong business person. In fact, the last place I would actually want to look for entrepreneurial inspiration is an institution. It's just not where I want to go for it. And it's funny too, because so many people will be like, oh, well, we kind of got business stuff in school. But everyone kind of recognizes that is not, it's not taking them to that next level. Because the systems that enable the school to grow are not the systems that enable you as an entrepreneur to grow.
For sure. And I think too, one of the things that's so important, and I know that you're doing this with your practitioners and also your patients as well, you know, the health industry is changing so quickly. The testing that's available and the different supplements and the different ways to like create protocols and the different, you know, practice management platforms, like I think sometimes people don't realize, like clinicians and practitioners, I think sometimes they don't realize what's out there to make our lives so much simpler, so much more streamlined, so much easier. And it's just because we don't know what we don't know.
Totally.
And to be around other people, like, oh, what are you using for this? Oh, what are you using for that? Like, that can change the game for a lot of people.
Yeah. Yeah. And you want to ask people who are on the top of the game with respect to those innovations or those technologies, and what's compliant with regulation, and what can we do in Canada versus the US. It's not worth your time to sit and reinvestigate that whole piece. That's sort of the theme of what we're talking about here, is how do we most effectively leverage your time so you can go and impact the people that you want to impact in alignment with your unique abilities and what you're really good at. Because it's rare that someone's like, I am the best clinician and I'm totally on top of technology and I'm like cutting edge on what's happening in terms of strategies around implementing care plans. Like, it's usually not that we tend to see that as one solid, like, stay in your lane and pull on the expertise of other people. That's what the people who are at the top of their game are doing, is they're recognizing what they're really good at, and they're actively seeking out the people who can help them amplify that skill. It's why people seek you out, because they're like, I am super good at dealing with pediatric whatever, and I want to scale that online. And they're like, Lori, how do I do that? I will just surrender to your process because I'm really good at the pediatric medicine. I'm not good at that other piece. And then they just keep going. We sit back and we wonder. I was at a conference yesterday and I was listening to someone talk and they're like, oh, I wonder how that person did it. And I was like, ask them. They've got a program. Like, you're super good at this. Just go and talk to them. Ask them how they did it. Don't spend 10 years trying to figure it out yourself. There's no glory in that.
Yeah. And I think it really does come down to a decision. I know for me, like, I'm huge about investing in myself in all the areas of my life, personally and professionally, because I realized a long time ago that really and truly, like, that's the fastest path to anything. Mm-hmm. It's like, why do I, and I see it in the practitioners and the clinicians that choose that mindset over, oh, I can't afford this right now, or the business isn't making enough money to cover that, or, I'm going to go gain a little bit more experience, or whatever the rationale, because that's what it is, the rationale is. And I think where we're coming from is like, why waste that time? Like, why waste that time? Like, for me, it's like, who has the experience and the success of that particular thing that I'm after? How much does it cost? Mm-hmm. Let's get started. Like, that's the mindset that I think is like a growth mindset versus what the examples that I had just mentioned. And if you're sort of sitting there and hemming and hawing about any investment, whether it is coming to impact lives or doing anything, I would really question what your goals are. Like, really sit there and, question what you want for your practice, for your patients, for your life, and assess if your behaviors and your mindsets are in alignment with what you want.
Mm-hmm. And, I was saying, I was at this event, I was just down in Phoenix for 4 days. And what was nice about it is the speakers hung out with us for 4 days. And so we were just chatting, and there were common themes to their journeys on their path to success. And I remember hearing Tony Robbins say this when I was younger and earlier in my career. He's like, oh, not being in the relationship you want, or not having the finances that you want, or not any of those things, those are choices. And I was like, that's so harsh, Tony. And I was like, I loved you till that moment. I was like, I didn't buy it. And then I eventually realized that was true. But then in talking with the people this weekend, the common theme with all of them was, when I was first starting and I was really struggling and it was super hard, not accelerating was completely a choice. And when I made the decision that I was going to lean into this, that I was going to actually have to take risks, that I was going to have to actually step back and assess the ROI, the return on investment for these various pieces, when I made the decision that I was going to step in and play a bigger game, everything took off. I know that is likely true for you. I won't speak for you. It was definitely true for me when I stopped and I was like, no, I'm leveling up. I'm making the investment. I'm getting on an airplane. I'm going to events. Like, I'm going to talk to people. I'm all in. My business it just exploded.
Yeah.
So it truly is a decision. You have to make the decision that you're like, I'm ready to play a bigger game. And listen, like, the players, they'll come to you. The right people will come to you. You will learn how to make the decisions about which of the options is going to be right for you. But you got to make the decision that you want to play a bigger game, that you want to impact more people.
Yeah. Absolutely. That's 100% true for me. I call it my no plan B commitment. I talk about it all the time.
Yeah.
That like decision that things were going to change. And to be honest, like that hasn't really changed all that much. Like at every sort of new pace, let's say, or new sort of, I don't know, whatever you want to call it, phase of growth, I'm faced with that decision again. It's like you get to a certain level, maybe you are doing well in your practice and you're doing 6 figures a year and you want to get to 500,000. And you're like, okay, here's where I want to go. And you don't know how to do that. That's totally normal. No one knows how to do it. They just know where they want to go.
Right.
And then you have to make the decision to say, okay, I know I want to get here. I don't know how. So who can I ask to help me? Who can I invest in to give me that guidance? No one knows how to get to the next level. Like, that's the whole point. Like, you know, I don't know how to get to the next level. I'm a nutritionist. You're a naturopathic doctor. Like, you know, we didn't know how to do this stuff. And you don't know how to get your practice off the ground. You got to ask somebody who does. Otherwise, like, good luck to you kind of thing, you know, like you're not expected to know how, but it comes down to the choice of if this is where you want to go, then there are some hard, risky decisions that you need to make and likely investments that you need to make before you start to see the return, sometimes for years. Yeah. And that's just the truth of it, you know? And I think the difference too about maybe coming to an event like Impact Lives and learning from Meghan and all of the other speakers is that we all teach what we do. Like no one's up there teaching theory or like blowing smoke up your ass or pretending.
Or the latest research.
Yeah, or like research, like, or pretending that it's going to happen in 90 days. Like we all teach what we do on a daily basis. And so therefore you can have confidence in the fact that if you apply it, it's going to work. Yeah.
And we see it do it over and over again. My favorite part about this conversation is it isn't the conversation we intended to have at all, but we're both so passionate about this idea that if you want something bigger, you want to have more impact on people's lives, which is like the name for this event was just so natural because that's all I talk about. Like I'm clearly excited right now. I get really jumpy when I get excited, but we literally have systems, and you have systems that enable you as a practitioner to impact more people. We have over 15 speakers who are going to be part of this event through breakout sessions, through teaching panels, and they're all top of their game, and they're all doing really incredible things in their practices or in their businesses or in the systems that they deliver to practitioners. We put them all under one roof because you know what's right for you. Not all of these people are going to be right for everybody. We got a little mix of mindset. We've got some tactics and strategy that we're talking. It's really an opportunity to pick what you need for your business. You and I aren't going to tell them what is right for their business. We're going to give you some options. We're going to let you sample and really start to flex that muscle of decision making and strategic analysis and ROI on where you go. Like, do you need to learn how to start a podcast? Do you need to learn how to build a funnel? Or do you need to sit with someone and talk about your mindset around money? I'm not going to tell you which of those things you need. This is a real chance for you to start to make that decision and feel good about, oh, that was the information I needed at the right time. It really is like flexing a muscle. It's like courage is a muscle. The more you do it and the more you lean into it, the more you're like, okay, like I got this. I'm going to be courageous again. Yes. So it's the same thing in business. When you start to expose yourself to a new idea because you believe it's the right idea for you to pursue, and you're able to decide that was the right thing, or maybe that was even the wrong thing, you start to recognize and get used to how to analyze what is going to be the right decision for your business moving forward. And it's part of why we put the event together that way, is that so you could really safely start to have the opportunity to explore some new ideas and see where they take you.
Yeah. And as you were talking, this thought just came to me. It's like, because we were talking about choices and we were talking about, you know, really having success come down to a decision. And I'll sort of wrap up with this, and I'm pretty sure you'll agree because we talk about this all the time. is that like you can cling to the story that it needs to be hard, and that, you know, you have to live sort of like patient to patient, and that you won't be able to like accumulate wealth, not just money, but wealth and impact and influence. And you can cling to that story because that's the story of you and your peers. And that's, you know, the typical sort of struggling naturopathic clinician story. Or you can say, no, that's not going to be my story. That's not going to be my story. That's not going to be my life. There's plenty of examples from people who have chosen differently, who are successful. So if you're like, will this work for me? And that's always the funniest question. It's like, do you not see the examples? Like,
you're not unique.
Yeah. That it will if you just do these things? And so I'll leave with that is just like, you know, you can cling to that story and that can be your story and that's a choice and you're choosing that story. Or you can choose the other story, which feels really risky and really uncomfortable. And yet all of those things is what are going to lead you to have the impact and the wealth and the abundance and the influence and the affluence that you really want, but maybe you're afraid to say because there's like a stigma around it. But that's like really what you want for your life. And so if you're choosing that way and you're choosing to create a new story and a new sort of language around what your practice and your life looks like, you can come hang out with us at Impact Lives, because that's the only conversation I'm interested in having. I'm not interested in having the whole, well, this isn't going to work for me because X, Y, and Z, because like, I'm not like, sure, go believe that 100%. Like, so if you want to have that new conversation and you want to figure it out and you want to learn, come join us.
Yes, it's a yeah, but free zone.
Yeah, there's no but Lori's here. I have like that's like my favorite thing. Don't give me any but Lori's. Just I'll do the work even though it feels uncomfortable. That's all. I can't
wait for you to be on the stage. You're gonna just drop truth bombs. We could put you on stage for the whole day.
I know.
And people, which we'll do next June with you.
We will have other opportunities to do that. So if you're interested, there's still tickets. There's a dinner Friday and we're going to hang out and we're going to have fun. And there's lots of other things happening. All the information is on the event page. It's linked in the comments. Also too, if it's not right for you, please share it with your colleagues and your friends. Because rising tides lift all boats and we're all in this together and we can't elevate without each other. And that's just the truth of it. So yeah, hopefully we'll see you in a couple weeks.
Amazing. Thank you, my friend.
Thanks everybody. Have a good day.